Hello, my name is Thomas Good, reporting for the Diamondback News. I'm here to report about PTSD in both veterans and first responders. Both veterans and first responders put their lives on the line each time they put on their uniform. Whether it be suiting up to go into battle or into a burning building, they do it for us. Each of them suffer PTSD in some form. In some, it can cause suicidal thoughts, and in some, they appear normal until they are triggered by a stressor from the incident. I bet many of you have heard of PTSD, yet don't really know what it is. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder and is a stress and anxiety condition that results from the exposure to an overwhelming traumatic event, combined with feelings of utter helplessness. Since the 1980s, it has been pointed out that PTSD may occur not only among survivors of severe traumatic events, but also among those who rescue the victims. Members of the fire service constitute a large occupational group exposed to traumatic experiences. For veterans and first responders, it is extremely difficult to live with PTSD. It has been reported that lifetime prevalence rates of alcohol abuse and dependence among men and women with PTSD are approximately 52 and 28% respectively, and that lifetime prevalence rates for drug abuse and dependence are 35 and 25% respectively. This means that at a minimum, 25% of men and women with PTSD suffer from alcohol abuse or dependence and drug abuse and dependence. Other than drugs and alcohol, a study on combat veterans with PTSD reported that 8% of those veterans tested are heavy smokers, meaning that they smoke greater than 25 cigarettes a day when compared to combat veterans without PTSD. All three of these can attest to the need for relief and escaping the pain that is associated with PTSD. Even though many know that alcohol, drug abuse, and smoking can kill you or cause serious health issues, veterans and first responders still do it because it's their only way to cope with PTSD. Here's a small clip of a veteran pilot in the Air Force who is now afraid of heights because of the PTSD he got from combat.
I was very skeptical. I didn't want it. I didn't, but by the time I had finished through the week, the fear of flying, the fear of heights, I went through with that. So he had set up to go over to the embassy hotel, and we got there. And when we got on the glass elevator, I turned my back to the door, so I wouldn't have to look out. To some people it may sound funny and stuff. How could you be? But even though we were only like 5 stories up, I was
Here's a
shaking.
small clip from a fellow news station of a firefighter and his first-hand account of a second alarm fire.
All hands on deck, a 2-alarm fire that injured 7, but somehow everyone walked away.
Now, one firefighter is telling Matthew Smith the injuries weren't just physical.
We got very lucky. We could have had 5 firefighters and a civilian dead like that.
Mike Terrell says it's amazing that everyone that battled this fire lived. No one knows that better than him. He was inside when the building blew up. He was trying to get the owner out.
The last thing I remember is trying to reach out with my right hand to shield Mr. Cutler.
Terrell came to on his stomach. He was dragging himself, crawling to get out. We believe that's him being taken away by an ambulance. But that's not what this story is about. A life can be measured by anything. Seconds, really. Terrell may have gotten out alive, but 36 hours after he left the hospital, his life flashed again.
Don't remember the 6 guys being here carrying me downstairs.
A concussion hit Terrell late. He had to be rushed back to the hospital. He was paranoid, scared someone wanted to hurt his family. As get-well cards were piling up, Terrell was beginning a fight unlike anything this 29-year firefighting vet could imagine.
I know what to do at a fire. I know what to do in an emergency situation. Not having control over my mind is a lot worse.
Fires, crashes.
I rescue 62 guys.
The worst of the worst calls. Not just this funeral home, but some as far back as 20 years.
There's a lot of stuff that I thought I dealt with that is resurfacing.
Both clips show that it is hard for veterans and first responders to cope with their PTSD and that there's a growing need for advancements in treatment. Due to the advancement in technology, treatment for PTSD is growing and allowing for easier and less straining ways for veterans and first responders to receive treatment for their PTSD. One example of this advancement in technology is through virtual reality. Virtual reality integrates real-time computer graphics, body tracking devices, visual displays, and other sensory input devices to immerse someone in a computer-generated virtual environment that changes in a natural way with body and head motion. VR exposure is proposed as an alternative to typical imageal exposure treatment for Vietnam combat veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. A patient was exposed to 2 virtual environments, a virtual Huey helicopter flying over virtual Vietnam and a clearing surrounded by jungle. The patient experienced a 34% decrease on clinician-rated PTSD and a 45% decrease on self-rated PTSD. This means that the intensity of the PTSD itself decreased by 30%. Another form of treatment is the use of medications. These medications consist of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, and prozosine for insomnia and recurrent nightmares. These medications help to reduce the pain associated with PTSD and provide relief, not a cure. These are just two of the many methods for PTSD treatment. This wraps up our news segment. This is Thomas Good with the Diamondback News. Have a great day.